Yo, 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 what is good? What is good, my people? This is Stormybman, and I am back here to talk to you again. Another Friday night has come around, and we are here for this Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day 2020. Salute to everybody that's out there. Salute to the LDBC. I know there may be a chance that there may not be many people joining us tonight. You know, it's lovers' night. You know, y'all all caught up in them sheets and stuff like that. You know, probably even caught up with somebody you don't need to be caught up with, but that's another story. Want to say good evening to everybody. This is a later edition of the show due to me trying to catch some of the fights that were a part of the Golden Boy promotion on DAZN. I understand that there was some other fights on another network. I'm not sure. I think it was Showtime, but I wasn't able to catch everything because I was trying to be a little more organized with what I'm doing, and I couldn't do the dual viewing at this time. So I'll probably have to catch those matches on replay. But for everybody that's out there with me so far this evening, I want to say thank you for stopping by the channel. This is episode 49 already, okay? The Bitter Pill of Defeat. You know, my titles have meaning. And when I do come across certain content that I like to have in the arena of discussion, I draw from that. So that's what it is. We got Tyrone Smith out there. He says, salute, bro. E. Woodson is out there. He says, salute, OG Stormy. Salute to you, E. Woodson. Chi-Town, stand up, brother. And he says, I'm driving home in this crazy traffic. I know, man. The traffic has been crazy all freaking day today here in the Chi for some reason. My commute to work this morning, the commute home, it took me an extra hour to get home today, man. What is going on? And I saw a few wreckages, you know, and it's like, I think it's these people on these cell phones, man. Cell phones, texting and driving. And, you know, you look at the traffic and the way it moves, and people are driving like 15 to 20 or more miles an hour slower than they ordinarily would if they weren't engaged in the phones. And they still having wreckages because they ain't paying attention. And the reflexes ain't what they think they are, because I'll tell you, a few years ago, there was a survey that was done about multitasking. And they said that it's about 70% of the population cannot multitask. Think about that for a moment. Chewing gum and walking at the same time. There's 70% people can't do it, man. And I know it's not that serious, but at the same time, what we're saying in the sense of multitasking, those who can't remain focused on whatever their task is at hand when another situation to be addressed comes into play. And they find themselves, you know, stuck, or the brain shuts down, the brain slows down, and people just can't contend with it. But it says something about people seriously, because we live in a society now where they're making all of this tech available for you, and your brain activity isn't keeping up with the tech. You're tuned into the tech, but it isn't heightening your senses or sensibilities. Think about it. They're now making cars that can park themselves, basically drive themselves, because of the idiots behind the wheel can't walk and chew gum at the same time. You know, you can't eat that bucket of Popeyes and drive on the expressway. I'm sorry. Sit down in the store and eat the damn bucket of chicken. Okay? Or if you left, pull the hell over and eat your chicken. Use some napkins, wipe yourself off, and then resume driving after you finish. Don't come in traffic, causing wrecks, running into me, tearing up my vehicle, because you couldn't put the damn chicken bone down. That's what I got to say about that. So, the bitter pill of defeat is the title of this evening's show. Okay? The bitter pill of defeat. Now, this doesn't speak to anyone in particular, okay? But it's actually about facing, defeat, or what do you do once defeat comes a knocking at your door. The principle, you find out that you thought you had a grip on it all and you didn't. So now what do? What's one of the brothers, I forget which one, I'd give him credit for it if I could remember which brother said that. But what has it been? 3.5, 4 months now since Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison fought their rematch, where Charlo was able to regain his WBC title by knocking Tony Harrison out. Apparently, Harrison has been so stooped by his defeat that he has sat at home in a dirty old flea-ridden bathrobe, that ankle that he feigned being injured and everything, propped up on his ottoman and looking at replays and tapes and do-overs of the fight in his mind and on his TV. And in some kind of way, he looked at things and found himself thinking like, hey, this guy switching up his drinking bottles in the corner. He obviously got to be doing something unsavory there. That's why he won. No, Mr. Harrison. The reason he won is because your mouth wrote checks that your chin and your ass can't cash. That's an old one for you. That's an old one for you. Seeing as how some of you young bloods out here don't like to listen to the old ones. Because sometimes when you do listen, you might find out something can be helpful. And since you did all of that talking and everything during the end of the first fight, the promotion of the second fight, the rescheduling of the second fight, and the new promotion of the second fight, you did more talking than Oprah Winfrey, bro. You did more talking than Oprah Winfrey. And in the rematch, you fought well. Measured, showed some ability, showed skill, but you were in there with someone who was competing as well. And it ain't over till the final bell. For the most part, you kept your chin out the way. But for some reason, late in the fight, you decided to shake your ass a little bit. but that's when your ass got tore. Huh? And you lost. But this man and his brother, they were enrolled in the VADA program way before, early. It's like when it started, they were ready. They were down. Okay? How could you come out like this, bro? You lost. Okay? You fucking lost, bro. May the best man win. You were never the best man. You came out of that first fight and you delayed that rematch. Damn near a year. So your tenure of holding the belt would be at least a year. I've seen this before, man. I've been around. There's plenty of fighters. You thought you invented this crap? I've seen it. Nobody likes to become a champion and lose the belt in a rematch, lose the belt rather in a rematch 3 to 6 months later. Nobody wants to do that. Because they can consider you at that juncture a flash in the pan. Huh? That's what they do. So you, like other fighters, Anthony Joshua, huh? Hold on to those belts as long as you can. Keith Thurman, huh? Without defending or anything. Because at least if you could have had it a year, a calendar year, it looks better in the record book. Like, oh, he was champ for a year. But he ain't defend. He just held it. Huh? Keith Thurman held on to belts for like, it seemed like 10 years. A damn generation of fighters went past. We got a lot of new faces up here now since they finally snatched those belts away from him. You know how many title defenses that could have been? He was unified. All these fake soft tissue injuries and everything, the man walking around. But he's still a champ. Now you got some of these sanctioning bodies getting a little clever on you guys' asses, huh? They'll put you in a different mode. Look what they did to Devin Haney. He had an actual real injury from boxing, and they took his belt from him and made him, what, champion in recess? And said that he can fight for the belt again when he comes back, but he's a champion in recess, but he's not the champion. They took the belt away from him. Why didn't they try that shit on Keith Thurman? You know, to light the fire under him. And a couple of others who were out there doing the same thing. What's up, Jethro Bodine? I see you out there. Man, it's like this whole thing was unnecessary, bro. You look stupid. And people won't respect that, man. I know we living in a whole age, huh? Where everybody want to be a hoe now. Nobody want to be a man, huh? But you trying to be hoe of the year with this shit. All you could have did was get your ass back in the gym, put a soundbite out there saying, hey, it might be a long road ahead, but I want Mr. Charlo again. Huh? And let people see you working. Huh? They respect that. But you sitting back, dropping something like that out there in the universe, and you think people gonna respect you? Where's the integrity, bro? When Charlo lost, or when the decision was given to you in the first fight, you ran your mouth. Charlo was like, hey, when we had a rematch, I'm getting mine back. That's what he said. And he went somewhere and he was quiet. And he did all his talking in the ring in the rematch with you. In a tight fight, you guys fought, gave as good as you got until he put the stamp on the end of the fight for you. As well he should have. Because you do your talking in the ring, bro, with your hands. Huh? All that stuff. There's plenty of people who can talk with gift or gab, man. But it's a lot of people out here, they don't talk. Huh? And they may talk a little bit. But you got a lot of people out here that will show you more than tell you. Huh? So when you sat up there and you started looking over those films of the fight and everything and looking in the corner and you thought you saw something, take note of what was finally said by the organization. No wrongdoing. Huh? No wrongdoing on behalf of the Charlo camp. Now what you gonna do? Because anybody that face you going forward, they got to watch out for that string. Huh? You know that tampon string? That's what you going to do. Show your string. Even if they knock you out, you're going to come up with some fabulous excuse. And you're going to get knocked out again. Because people like you pulling that kind of mess, people going to be gunning for you, bro. They ain't going to want to just defeat you. They want to humiliate you. This is boxing. You done showed your colors. You done showed what's up under that skirt. Huh? That's the real deal. You might not like it, but that's what you got to hear. Because remember, you thought you was the champ of shit talk. Plenty more mouths out here, bro. And a lot of ugliness can come out of them. But what you did, it's despicable, bro. It's despicable. You ain't no champion. You a chump. That's right, I said it. Stormybman called Tony Harrison a chump. What? In other news, the topic that comes about high risk, low reward, spoken off the lips of numerous champions and contending fighters out here in the sport today. I wish the term had never come into play because I'm so sick of hearing this. High risk, low reward. They should just say, I'm scared to fight. Huh? I'm scared to fight. High risk, low reward. When you see a guy out here and he's performing, knocking over stiff after stiff, and they say, hey, we got another guy over there. He's coming up. His record matches yours, and you got a good left hook. He's got a great right hand. Are you gonna face that guy? Well, you see, boxing is a business, and in business, you have to talk to my promoter. You have to talk to my manager. You have to get with them people. But I just fight who they put in front of me. Well, they're trying to put him in front of you. Do you want to take him on? Listen, it's a high risk, low reward situation here. I could make money fighting the guy, but I could lose. Nigga, people lose in boxing. Huh? That's what happens. especially when you have titles and people are challenging you for your title? Huh? What is that? Well, you know, you got to talk to my manager. Man, if you don't get all the way the hell up out of here with that mess. We need to see fighters fighting each other. We need to see the belts contested. They've created avenues for you guys to escape opposition. Huh? Franchises and diamonds and, you know, the Aztec belts and all of it. Man, what the hell? What we need to see now is some of the real fighters say, I don't give a damn about them straps. I just want his ass. I want him. Huh? That's when you know. That's when you know. It ain't going to be no conversation from him saying high risk, low reward. Get the hell out of here with that. It's a high risk when you glove them up to go in there, even against them so-called tomato cans that you've been fighting. Huh? The setups. It's a damn high risk for them because you're heavily favored. Huh? 30-1 odds and shit. So those guys ain't putting it on the line? When you gonna put it on the line? We got Nassim the Dream out there. He says, salute, Stormybman. Salute, family. Salute to you. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is out there. He says, salute my peoples. Reggie, if you want to come, you can, bro. Come on the panel. Tyrone is saluting Nassim the Dream. And Derek Bailey is saluting. Listen, man. Every time these guys say that crap, high risk, low reward, you can expect someone to bow their head and go the other way. That's what's happening in the sport. You got guys who don't even want other fighters to come to the arena, let alone, oh, for God's sakes, don't get in the ring after a match. They'll call security on you, bro. How is a world champion fighter, battle tested, afraid of another world contending fighter getting in the ring, in clothes, mind you, not geared up for the match, but in his civvies? For photo op sound bites, you don't even want him in the ring with you. Huh? Don't let him in here. You don't want to be photoed with him. You don't want him at the press conferences. You don't even want to be in the same arena as him. But you pound your chest and tell anybody out there that's listening, I'm the man. I'm the man. I'm the baddest in the world. No, sucker, you the saddest in the world. Huh? I'll take a moment out, everybody, and welcome my brother, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He's joined me here. What's going on with you, Reggie? How you doing this evening, bro?
Pretty good, man. Watched some good fights tonight, man. I was impressed by what I seen by both cats, the old vet and Linares, and what this young kid did. He didn't presented a new issue at that division he's in, and for some of the young fighters out there. But I enjoyed the hell out of the fights I watched.
Absolutely, man. And, you know, we can parlay, as I've been cooking on this high risk, low reward crap, we can parlay that right on into what you're just talking about there, because this is also what happens with those people who run that gamut of high risk, low reward. So they stay in a safe place fighting people that they're favored to beat all the time and everything, until they get run away from a division or run away from a title. What we witnessed this evening was more of that in a flip sense, because when I say flip, tell me what you think about this. And I had said it was going to happen in the heavyweight division, and it's already ironing itself out there, but it's happened even faster at that lightweight division. I had said, when these champions are up there milling about, not fighting each other and everything, and not fighting quality opposition, what happens is they give the young ones that's coming up a chance to grow and mature on an accelerated pace. Because when they're talented, you can put them in there with stiffer and stiffer competition until you get to that point where now the champion, you're breathing down his neck. You see, because you've grown and he's become stagnant because he ain't trying to test himself or whatever. He don't want to lose what he got, like Rocky said to Adrian in Rocky 3, huh? But tell me what you think about that, Reggie, about the fact that these guys milling about in various divisions don't want to fight the quality of fighters that's there with them and trying to pick, stiffs and this and that. And then they give those other young guys an opportunity to grow and be right there too. So the division gets really stacked. It happened at 154. That's why you got so many guys at 154 that could be champion every other fight, because most of them, you had a couple of veterans there that didn't want to do anything. Canelo, Lara, okay? The other guys caught up. Now the division is super stacked. What you got to say, bro?
Yeah, I gotta say, these fools forgot to listen to the old saying about time waits for no man. And a lot of these dudes sitting out there thinking they can play like a diva with these belts, holding away from challenging themselves, to really kind of creating to where they become a staple, a memory in the minds of when people talk about this great sport. But they rather sit back in hopes of staying a champion for so long and earning the money that champions receive. But once again, you leaving major money on the table when you ain't fighting the level or noted opponents that are out there that fight fans want to see. And you're just going around picking and choosing this easy stuff. And along with you choosing and picking these easy fighters and blowing through them, you're also losing at your craft, because you're not pushing yourself, you're not testing yourself, and you're really not working on where you may be deficient at. Now, when you step in and when you finally get in there with somebody of some merit, some class, and they get in there and attack your ass, a lot of these fools get to talking, well, it was just an off night. No, it was from all these games you didn't play, all this babysitting, all this picking and choosing. And now you done got in there with some real person that didn't spank your ass. And I love when I see these fools who do that. It's almost the same thing. I get joy out of people who talk big shit going into fights and then they get their asses handed to them. And that's just the same effect. But these fools need to wake up and realize time don't wait for no man. And when it comes to this sport, that time that they're wasting speaks on the improvements that are being made from those who are on their way up. And man, we're going to really see it in a lot of these divisions. But I think it's some sucker shit, because also with these fighters trying to do that, you have a whole list of promoters that go ahead and that's part of their program, because they're right along in cahoots with the shit. And they're also the kind of some of these dudes will even kind of scapegoat the ducking that is done by their fighters. And then the promoters also put themselves in bad position where their fighter becomes so devalued that nobody wants to see him. And this is the only guy in house who you need to try to make fights for. So it comes and bite both people in their ass.
Yes, indeed. As you say, Reggie, yes, indeed. Listen, man, I want to give a special shout out to Trick Nolte, who has joined the Stormybman family this evening. He's out there in the chat. He says, what up, Stormybman? He said, my first time in here. He says, Trick Nolte is in the building. Facts. Yes, sir. Welcome, Trick Noti, man. Been waiting to see you join us, man. Cause we be cooking over here, man. We talk boxing primarily, and we talk kung fu movies, and we talk food, man. So I'm sure it's something in the bag for everybody. But I appreciate you stopping by, bro. Appreciate you. Stay a while. We gonna cook. Yeah, Reggie. And as you were talking about this dude, Tony Harrison, with that whole ish that he pulled this week that dropped out there. You know, I was cooking on that. You may have been in the chat listening. I don't know if you heard me talking about that situation, but he's definitely one of those that you mentioned, you know, just in your last comments about these guys that be talking all of this ish and everything, but then they chin can't hold up to the merits of what they mouth be blaring out. You know, I've seen these guys grow around the division, and I've seen them put on, you know, it's almost like in certain instances people are forced to prove their wares, and then others are anxious to prove their wares. And we're seeing this happen. That's one of the wonderful things about this fight that's coming up between Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce. Now, we've been talking about the juggernaut, Joe Joyce, and even making fun of him with his, you know, we call him Slow Joyce and this and that or whatever. But in the heavyweight division, when a man can take a good shot and he can give a good shot, he can be in it, and he could be in it to win it. We know that Dubois is 22 years old. And just think back for some of you who are way beyond 22. I ain't talking about if you 3 or 4 years removed from being 22. But if you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s or plus, if you look back at who you were when you were 22, sometimes you got tricked. Huh? Sometimes. Because it was something you didn't know. You know what I mean? It was like it was foreign to you. You had a chance to go a certain path, a certain direction or whatever, and you ended up in a bag. Huh? That's what can happen in life. Just because you're strong, just because you're smart and intelligent, just because you fast, that don't mean that there ain't a bag out there for you to stumble into as well. So the fact that these two guys are fighting in their careers at this time is a wonderful thing. But it's also one of those things that you take note of, because what happens, life always teaches you lessons. Always. That can go for Joe Joyce. That could go for Daniel Dubois. But the fact that they're fighting each other, we're going to learn something more about these men, both of them. If Dubois prevails, great. Great for him, because that means he may be ahead of the curve. May be ahead of the curve. If Joyce wins, there could be a duality there. Maybe he's ahead of the curve. Maybe Dubois wasn't up to snuff, or a combination of something. But they're doing it. That's the thing. Most important, people. They are fighting each other. And at this juncture in their careers, what you're seeing is something that Tyson Fury hasn't done, Anthony Joshua hasn't done, huh? Dillian White, sure enough, hasn't done. So it's like, kudos to those brothers. What do you got to say about that, Reggie?
Man, I love what they're doing, man, especially at the quick stage in their careers. They ain't letting things play out. They ain't trying to play this game of I'm a little bit younger than him, he's a little bit older, I'm going to just age his ass out. And they're not doing any of that. They're getting right into it early in his career. This young fighter is pushing it, which is common for young fighters to go about doing this. But that Joyce has finally agreed on doing it. And man, I can't have anything negative to say about it. I just tip my hat off to both of them for giving us this kind of matchup. And this is a big time matchup that we want to see. It don't have to be Anthony Joshua. I think people almost can give two shits about Anthony Joshua because now the shift over in the UK is starting to shift away from Anthony Joshua and it's going right over towards Daniel Dubois. We want to see what he's going to do. And I don't know, this is just a special thing for him to do. And like you stated, where people, what they think they can do in 22 and they don't pay attention to, this declining in age. And once you hit those 30s, you start to have significant declines in certain things. It may not always be speed, but the structure of your body may change. You may start to ache in your bones. The recovery times take a little bit longer. You may tweak something just based on your body going through these physical changes, which are just a natural part of things. Now, a lot of young guys may not know how to deal with it. They may not know, I don't know, they may go in there with this, I'm a 20-year-old type mindset, and they end up really effing themselves up. But this is what happens when you prolong things and you go way beyond, because people, these young fools who don't value the little window of time that they have, because they look at life being so long. Life expectancy has nothing to do with what an athletic career time period is. A lot of them have to look at, you may only have 5 years. Some may have 10 years. It's a rarity for someone to have a 20-year career. A lot of these dudes sit in this mindset, think they can play around with it and think their career is going to last as long. And they end up fooling themselves, because you just never know when certain things in your system just change on you. But Joe Joyce and them, they get major respect from me. Daniel Dubois, major respect, because they're doing the proper thing for the sport. But as an athlete, period, they're doing the proper thing, not letting time go, time become wasted. And even if someone suffers a defeat, the career isn't over. Time, they can move forward with it, find other big fights. And they may put on such an epic fight that it carries their career over, carry their careers forward, even if they do suffer a loss. But man, I tip my hat to both of these dudes.
For certain, man. And AJ is definitely one of those brothers that come to mind when I spoke about you milling about so much that somebody is going to catch up to you. And then what you going to do? You got several titles that you holding on to. You going to vacate all of them? Because like I said, we got enough guys to challenge for each one of those titles. Who can possibly beat him right now? So they become number one contenders for the IBO, the WBA, the IBF, and whatever the other one, the WBO. Those belts that he's carrying around, body, and we got guys out there that could step it up and become, a person to challenge what he brings. It's a no-brainer. I want to go to the chat for a second, because I see darkness in the future for Anthony Joshua, as in the lights being turned out on him again. And Mark Wunderlich has joined us. He said, Utah in the house. Salute to you, brother. And Sir Ken says, it's a great step up for Daniel. To me, it looks like he's moving the right way towards a possible big-time fight. And Sir Ken is also saluting Tyrone. Listen, the fact that Dubois is taking this fight, it's a great thing, because he's talented enough to no longer fight guys he's supposed to beat in there. Okay? Because when he beats them terribly. Okay? So he's well advanced beyond that. So he needs to step up into this pool of contenders and start matching his wares there and gain the experiences there. Joyce is the perfect guy at this particular time. And for Joyce, he's the perfect guy. Joyce just came out of a fight with Bryant Jennings, right? And Bryant Jennings actually went the distance with Vladimir Klitschko and gave Klitschko some fits during that fight. So even though Bryant Jennings may not be the same fighter he was when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, but Bryant Jennings had been in there with the likes of King Kong Ortiz as well. So the connection there is this. I'm going to fight guys who have fought live bodies and champions. And when you can dust them up, you step up a notch. You instead of just fighting these, look at who Tyson Fury fought in the 2 fights since fighting Deontay Wilder. That's a perfect example of what we're talking about here. Tyson Fury fought guys who are even in the top 30, bro. Okay? They went and found these guys in the Caucasus Mountains somewhere, working out of caves. Huh? This how bad they are. But they weren't that bad as far as Otto Wallin is concerned, because Otto Wallin was in there competing with him. Now, what does that say about the master boxer? Huh? So, if guys like Dubois and Joyce want to mix it up with each other, and then when they finish that, each one steps up to someone else, hell yeah, I want to see that. Huh? Tyson Fury is in matches fighting guys that were cruiserweights and everything, and they trying to say, oh, Deontay Wilder is a cruiserweight too. Really? Really? This man who's leaving dead bodies all over the ring is a cruiserweight? Well, what weight were you, Tyson Fury, when Otto Wallin was running your ass all around that ring and had you bleeding like a fish that got pulled off of a hook in a boat? Huh? Seriously. Boxing is horrible when you allow these people to try to show you these bull crap narratives, okay, and keep you involved in it, because with the hope of something good gonna happen. It ain't gonna never happen as long as they can keep selling you the bull crap. It ain't gonna happen. Huh? Fanboyism in the sport is almost as equally as damaging as these guys who don't want to fight quality opposition. Tell us a little bit of something about fanboyism, Reggie. What do you got to say about that and how it applies in what we're talking about?
Man, I can't stand that fanboy shit. I can't hate because it adds to delusion. It adds to where people ain't honest. It adds to where people are constantly contradicting themselves. It's just something that don't work for me. It's almost as bad as what people see when they see what Pacquiao fans, what AJ fans went through. And a lot of times you just embarrass yourself rather than keeping things straight and honest when it comes to how you go about this thing. This game is about wins and losses. Everything ain't about winning. Sometimes you got to learn how to be honorable in defeat, and that's what you don't get when you deal with fanboys. You always deal with a bunch of excuses, a bunch of tearing down the sport because do they hate? They go about tearing down the other side of things, tearing down other people in the game. They don't respect greatness. They don't respect accomplishment. So to me, I can't stand fanboys. I stay away from them. Don't listen to them. Anything they speak holds no value to me. So it's just an unnecessary sport, and it's almost an irrelevant element to the sport. That's what happens with fanboys. Over a certain period of time, they become irrelevant to this game, and anything they speak, it just falls on deaf ears after you become familiar with who they are. You identify them. So, but I don't know. I just don't like them, man. That's just one thing you have to be as a fan is a real fan and accept the fact, man. Sometimes you're going to win them, sometimes you're going to lose them, and that's just the way this thing goes. But that's all I got, man. I think it's one of that fanboys, along with shady promoters, coward champions, are the one elements that need to be washed away from this sport. And once again, the janky promoters, these half-ass champions, and fanboys are the worst elements in the sport. Oh, on top of some of these now I can't put kind of the networks who interfere with things, but definitely that's my list for that.
And one of the reasons I brought that question to you, because I caught you guys last night, you and D-Style, and shout out to D-Style Boxing and the show that he ran with Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens on Thursday evenings. When you guys were sort of debating with the young man who was in there as a Canelo supporter, but what I and I'm not trying to put nobody on the spot here, but it was an example of why I said this about fanboyism, because it's like when we talk boxing on the channels, there are some people, yes, they do have fanboy tendencies and things like that. Or let's just put it like this: when it's the fighter that they like or support, that person is giving grace, giving like avenues to escape certain circumstances, and we call that into question. But what I'm talking about is the blind ambition of trying to keep a fighter safe, and you actually want him to live his career on paper or some shit. It's like, it's freaking ridiculous. It's like when you talk about, and we'll use Canelo as an example. When Canelo was fighting everybody at that catch weight, his own weight class of 155, I think it was, right? And he's down there fighting everybody at that weight, making people drain themselves and having rehydration clauses and all of this foolishness. There was still optimum competition around for him to face. But when the heat got a little bit too warm for his britches, he skirted away from that. I mean, how do you welcome Amir Khan up to fight you, but you have guys like, at that time, I think you had Lara there, you had the Charlos there, and, stiff competition. And that's not to say, just like D-Style says, we're not saying like we want to see him get beat. We want to see him fight quality people because we recognize he's quality, okay? But when you're fighting guys with advantages and stuff, you're a bully. Period. End of question. Right? Because the other guys, even if you could beat them, at least they will give you some challenges that you hadn't had a chance to meet. And when you guys were having that discussion last night, I realized something straight away. And that was like the fact that when he lost to Floyd Mayweather, and I don't think anybody may have put this together, when Canelo lost to Floyd Mayweather, they really thought he was going to beat Floyd Mayweather because they were looking at Floyd was an aging fighter. They kind of lose a step. The quickness is gone, this and that or whatever. And that's what they were banking on. And Canelo was strong. He was young. And he had ability. But the one thing that they forgot, Floyd trained harder than anybody in the sport for his fights. Yeah, he'll present a certain image to you. He's out in the club. He's throwing money at the TV, or he's burning cash or whatever, giving you a show. Okay? And they were like, yeah, we're going to get that dude. But the fact that he trained the way he did, he could fight at the level that he did, and he made everybody else look foolish because nobody was doing what he was doing. And if this is not a love letter for Floyd. When Mike Tyson was very good, he trained like that. He trained like a vicious person in that gym. And it paid off in his efforts in the ring when he fought. Only guys who dedicate themselves in that manner. You can't be half-assing it, man. You can't be putting on all that excessive weight and everything and then running around and drinking and all of that, or even doing drugs and stuff. And then when you got, I got 5 or 6 months to get ready, I'm going to get in there. No. You've cheated too much for that guy who has been totally dedicated. And at that time, Canelo was totally dedicated. But his camp didn't realize the intense training of Floyd and how Floyd got himself into shape. And don't forget, Floyd would box and spar all them young guys who are up there now and everything. That's who he was sparring against and everything, whether they were amateurs and professionals. That's how he kept his edge on. He didn't bring guys that he could beat up on in the gym. Huh? And then a lot of times when he had that work going on with those guys and they thought that they were really dealing and competing with him, He was working on shit. Huh? That's what a smart fighter does. He got his dad and his uncle, they telling him, they in his ear, this is how you do it. And he did it. So Canelo's people thought they had it, right? But so what happened was, after he dropped that fight, they made certain that they weren't going to make that mistake again. And that's the result of what we're seeing from him today. What do you think about that, Reggie?
No, absolutely. I definitely agree, man. And it really pointed to the brilliance of what Floyd was doing with everything you described. And also with that fan, I forgot about the dude who was on tonight, man, but it pointed right into what we're speaking about with Fanboy. You just see the delusion and you can watch that. And in 92, AKU is a cool dude, but he may have to go back, watch that video and just realize how much of that fanboyism, how bad it makes him look. And when he really looks into everything, but I agree with everything that you stated what you spoke of, and especially with the work that Floyd put in. And this is the same kind of thing that people wish Tank Davis would have put into the sport of dedicating yourself into it. Oh man, it's just I can't even hit in on anything that you spoke on because you hit it right out the park on that one. But I definitely agree with everything you said to the T.
Yeah, it's really. It really speaks volumes, and it also gives the story of what you're seeing. You see, because it's easy to look at Canelo, and shout out to Trick Nolte. He says that Stormybman, funny you mentioning Floyd. I have an interview tomorrow with Paul Spadafora. I'll ask him about the sparring session and the beef between those two and why they never fought. Okay, cool. Thanks for that, Trick Nolte. Let us know in the chat, too, what time you're going to have him on so we can send people over there to check you out. But, yeah, what I was going to say, Reggie, it's easy to say Canelo's running from people and ducking them and this and that, right? But it was a gross miscalculation in their assessment of Floyd and his abilities. And you have to give a certain amount of respect to certain people who show that they've learned a lesson. They learned their lesson from Floyd. See, unlike some people, like Zab Judah lost to Floyd, Shane Mosley lost to Floyd, and Miguel Cotto lost to Floyd. But I don't equate Cotto in this situation that I'm about to mention because of what Margarito did. I think Margarito damaged Cotto, and that Cotto could have been on the level of Floyd with the event that took place between them had it not happened. But I want to say this, that those guys, when they lost to Floyd, they didn't get better. They just resumed their careers. They didn't look at what made Floyd the best or whatever and make those adjustments. You have to make adjustments. And Canelo and his people, they made the adjustments, but they made certain that they weren't going to be in a position where they have the cards or the talent or the athleticism or whatever the intangibles may be stacked against them again. How about that, Reggie?
No, absolutely, man. It was crazy. It was like these dudes are two birds, and Floyd just taking this dude to a height he could reach, and it was just just focusing just strictly to Floyd's career, man. It just shows the absolute brilliance of this dude, and it's funny because speaking of Floyd and Canelo, is that Canelo started to adapt a lot of those things that the tangible things that Floyd brought to the table when it came to fighting. But the only thing is, Canelo's doing the opposite of going after trying to secure an era for himself. And that's where Canelo falls short. This is not going to be the Canelo era. It almost still leaves a blanketed spot after Floyd's exit from the sport. And right now, this is probably going to end up being a Deontay Wilder era if he goes through these last two heavyweights. But Canelo's left a lot on the table, but he's adopted a lot from, just the tangible things Floyd brought in there. And that's just really studying the craft, and really giving it his all. But Floyd would do with anybody. He would take things to newer heights to where these guys couldn't fly up in them altitudes with that guy. But yeah, that's all I have with that, man.
Yes, sir. And let that be a lesson to people out here that like what I just offered up is probably something more closer to the ground than anything anyone else has said about Canelo and him running from people and this and that or whatever. It's a business, and the business can be made extremely lucrative for you if you learn the keys and the principles. And as I just offered, Canelo and his people were smart. They learned from Floyd. They didn't just lose a fight to him. They went to school. Okay? And that's not a love letter for Canelo. It's an assessment made when you're watching a sport when very few can pick up the keys and understand how to progress in the sport. Anthony Joshua sure as hell ain't doing it. Deontay Wilder is doing it. And guess who else is doing it? Clarissa Shields. And from her perspective, I would love to go into a bit of a conversation, Reggie, on Wilder's recent comments regarding Shields being his female counterpart in the sport. Not as far as scoring knockouts, of course, but being a figurehead who marches to their own tune, bets on self, works within the ethic of achieving that and making other people take notice. Because while everybody is waiting to see you fail, you continue to prevail because your constitution is strong, your resolve, and that whole thing about speak it, believe it, and receive it is a part of that process. You go out there and you know it's on you. If you lose, you know it's on you. If you win, you know it's on you. If you give the greatest effort of what you have that night, which is why we've seen Deontay go into fights with broken hands, third degree burns, and pulled muscles and things like that. Cold and flu ailments where he's dropping weight. He's already light, but he's dropping weight, but he still goes out there and performs like a guy like Michael Jordan used to do. He have a flu. He have one of his best games. So you have to check with Mike before the game and be like, hey, Mike, how you feeling? I'm good. Okay, cool. Okay, he just going to score 30 tonight. You know what I'm saying? But you go in there with that handicap and he ain't feeling too good, he might bust 55 on you. You understand? So, but what do you have? What do you think about that with Wilder's comments about Shields and his compliments to her for what she's trying to do in the sport, even with the advancement of, the salaries that the female fighters get? They do put their lives on the line. This is an acknowledgement from the heavyweight champion of the world talking about this young lady. It's not fanboyism. He's respecting her brand. What do you have to say about that, Reggie?
Man, I agree with that, man. She's carrying the cross for women, for not just for women's boxing. She may be carrying the cross for women's sports, period. When you look at her name is even being mentioned down in, which can be a good center of focus for down in that sport. Her speaking up equality for women. She's the voice for women of all sports, not just in the sport of boxing. Her name carry weights. That's what she can cross across sports industry. She can go speak about going into soccer. People are going to attract towards that. She's bringing the sport to a higher elevation when it just focusing strictly on boxing. She's bringing women's sport to a higher elevation. You got Layla Ali, who's been retired, seeming to be jealous of what this woman is achieving, and her speaking, having a voice about it. You got, what is her name? What is her name? The champion down there, I can't think, but you know who I'm speaking about, the one who's supporting Layla Ali, but she's a current fighter. A great, matter of fact, yeah, Cecilia Brækhus, and she's a great, but Cecilia Brækhus being as great as she is, she's great as far as her craft, but as far as elevation, bringing an identity to the sport, they haven't been able to achieve that. Claressa has, and Claressa's doing it by challenging all newcomers. She put in all the proper work. This girl has developed from the ground up, and she ain't let nobody quiet her down. And she's using all the proper avenues to have a voice for herself. She doesn't need mainstream media to get to this point where she's at. And now once the mainstream media realize is that they have no effect on where this girl's career goes along with, this girl has been able to do this shit on her own. Now they have to get in line with that. And that's the same thing went on with Wilder, where they ignored him for so while, discounted him, pushed him off to the side. Now look at them. They're forced to put all type of money behind this guy, and that's exactly what she's doing. This woman did it the hard way. She ain't coming here off of the back of a famous father. This girl's come up straight through the amateur systems, went to the Olympics, achieved a feat that hasn't been accomplished, and now she's down in women's boxing, calling out people and kicking ass. She's living up to the shit that she's talking. And I think she's still got room to grow, and she's still developing. And also on the, kind of the business spot, the business side, when it comes to speaking and engaging on that side of things, she's developing rapidly on that side of things. And she's being an attraction, and you're slowly starting to see media folks wanting to get behind her. Pretty soon you're going to see Joe Rogan and them going after. You're going to see what's the cats that make things popular? The Breakfast Club going after Claressa Shields. This girl's on her way. And once networks start to see that, Fox and all them, then they want to sit down at the table with this woman. And then there's where she hits the next stratosphere when it comes into the whole environment of women's sports, periods. And this girl's sitting at the throne of it. Man, I agree, man. She's definitely the female counterpart to Deontay Wilder. There's nothing you can take away from her, even though I knock about her trying to go all the way down, but that's not no knock on Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields, like I state, she don't need none of them other women. They need her because she's a force within herself, and there's no one standing even close to her. But she's going to do great things for this woman side of sports. And she's made me to where I'm interested in watching women's boxing. I ain't never been into it like that. Even the start of this year has been some great women's fight. And the reason why they've been great attractions for me to want to follow is because of Claressa Shields. Even if she's not in the fight, there's an attachment to Claressa Shields. Same thing with Wilder. There's an attraction to the heavyweight division because of Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, and I want to say this as well on that to just link everything together. In an age and era where people being selfish, people being prideful, people really having disdain for, and the word is used so much now, hate for others, it is a wonderful thing to see the heavyweight champion of the world say something during the peak part of his promotion of his upcoming fight. For him to say things of what he said in support of this woman and what she's doing with her career, do you know how much of a shot in the arm that is for Claressa? And I think that goes unknown, or unnoticed rather, by the public and even the media, because what happens is when you have someone, remember, Deontay picks his battles, right? He knows all this negativity that comes at him, but the man still comes up roses. He knows the battles to pick, and he knows the endorsements to make, and he is winning, okay? So for him to have made the comments that he made in lieu in support of her, how great does that look when Layla Ali looks much lower for what she has done recently and said, and then got herself aligned with Miss Brækhus? See, the heavyweight champion of the world coming up basically saying, sister, I got your back. You understand? And what was Layla Ali's dad? The heavyweight champion of the world. And who has emulated him in outer ring experience of how he carried himself or whatever? Deontay Wilder. Huh? He's been the closest thing to Ali outside of the ring with fanfare and how he handles the public and how he deals with people. Yes, he has a southern flat talk, but he's not a person you can't understand. He's a person that you can overstand because of what he stands for. And that's why the people love him. He could go anywhere around this world. And all them folks that are getting these channels, these panels, and these chat rooms and everything and social media, and they could say these certain little comments about him or whatever. But if he walked past you, okay, you'll be at, oh, champ, can I get your autograph? Can I take a picture with you? And you know what he'll tell you? Sure, come on over. Because that's how he walked. We heard Prince Charles Martin, during his promotion in this fight that they fought for his heavyweight title, he and AJ, he say he walks around like a god. No, son. No, son. You don't walk around like a god. You fell down just like a clown. Okay? This man, the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, is like a god amongst men. Because all of the others ain't got what he got. Okay? He got a luster. He has a charisma. He has a spark. He has an anointing that none of them can understand. Okay? I, in one of my earlier videos, called him a prodigy, okay? Coming into the sport at the age of 19, 20 years old. 2 years later, going to the Olympics and medaling. Then turning pro in low status. Remember, Golden Boy. Low status. And look where he is today. It's on me. That's what it's been for him, okay? And when God is for you, it's more than the world against you. They've been plucking at him and trying to take away from his success and trying to find ways to shoot him down and everything. And still he rises. Okay? And that's a segue into something that I wanted to ask also to throw out here in the discussion. How have some old media heads positioning themselves to save face in a Wilder's victory over Fury in this rematch, where they, you got certain people like Scarface, he out there saying, oh, I'm picking Wilder, this and that or whatever. Max Kellerman is still being a fucking buffoon. And some of those others from those networks, they're still holding fast to the hate, okay? But in general, you can kind of see a shift because he has been so successful, undeniably. And they've tried to create falsehoods around his success to try to diminish it. But now they're actually coming out and saying favorable things because they just don't want to look so damn foolish going forward. But too bad, too sad, you already look foolish because we see what you're doing. What you got to say about that, Reggie?
Man, F these old media types. None of these damn clowns. But that's what happens, like I was saying with the fanboyism, when they don't keep things real, over time, there starts to add in these contradictions to where they're contradicting themselves. They begin to be made fools of by the truth, by what's real, and then they become very irrelevant. So before they hit this irrelevant stage, here's some of them trying to get back on track, because Tyson Fury is as skilled as he can be. Tyson Fury is no different than what people speak about other fighters who don't dedicate themselves to the sport, don't give it their all, don't live the life of a boxer. And that's exactly what the F Tyson Fury hasn't done. But these media types haven't held him to that same standard of how they criticize someone. Tyson Fury is a effing flop. He's a dude does the same way we get on Tank for not doing this shit. Tyson Fury's probably three times worse than what Tank is out here doing. And for them to ride with him to ride with Tyson Fury and speak of all these stories just shows with how flawed they are, how inconsistent they are, and what the hell they speak. It's a bunch of agenda-based bullshit that they speak with Tyson Fury. But I can't wait to see it when he goes into this fight and makes a fool out of those who still ride with Tyson Fury with the way they speak, like the Max Kellerman type talks. But the old media types, that's why I'm glad we have these platforms, because I don't F with old media types at all. They have ruined many things in sports for me to sit back and enjoy. That's why if I do enjoy it, my volume is off. I'm enjoying what's happening, not what these clowns are sitting there talking about, because they're sitting on some network, and these networks are all caught up in image and protecting the shields. They want the shield of organizations that have a certain standard and a certain look. And that's what I've been able to spot when it comes to what's being reported. It's a bunch of dumb shit. It's almost as dumb as what these media folks remind people who sat on the jury, like during the Rodney King trial, watching the video of these cops beating the shit out of them and almost acting as if, oh, that's not what's happening. And that's exactly what I get out of when I used to listen to commentators speak. You watch one thing in a fight and they're telling you some totally different shit that you didn't see happening. So that's the way I view them. I view them like people that sit on juries that pull off bullshit.
Yeah, man, for sure. And that can segue right into something else. Omega Red, I see you out there. Salute to you, family. That whole thing about this promotion, ESPN and PBC coming together, for this event. For all these other people talking about the other side of the street and everything, this is an example right in your face that the fights can be made. Okay? The fights can be made. This is not what some people think is like, this fight being on the table, it's a great heavyweight fight that, these guys, as they should be fighting each other, whatever. No, they didn't have to fight each other. Just like so many other guys in the sport are not fighting one another. But the thing about it is, we're getting to see a good quality fight because, to a certain degree, egos have been placed to the side, and we're seeing someone work together. Okay? And you have a champion who is the true draw, and that's Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, who doesn't want the whole calf. Okay? He's willing to share so it can take place. Okay? Because if he's successful, just like it has been prior to this point, he steps up to another level. And when he steps up to that level, he has a greater banquet table that he could set, that people could come and sit and eat, because he's generous. Okay? Am I right about that, Reggie, or what?
No, you're true. It's very true.
See, you got all these guys. There's some guys in other weight classes that could be fighting right now. But there's a tremendous amount of selfishness there. And also, that whole thing about, it's not about fearing the other person. It's about fearing losing what they have acquired. Okay? The status that they found their comfort in. Oh, I like these house shoes, huh? But somebody say, well, you got to take them off at the door. He's like, well, I really want to keep them on, so maybe I won't come inside. Huh? Get the fuck out of here. It's like, dude, you can make the matches, okay? And if the matches mix well and gel, you could even make more. How many times have guys gotten paid royally for rematches? I have always maintained that rematches are the under-supporting foundation for boxing. Because guess what? If it was good the first time, people will pay to see it again. Simple as that. If it's good the first time, they standing up and applauding you and slapping five in the stands and audience and everything and supporting you and cheering and everything. They buying more beers and all of that. Huh? You capped it off with an excellent performance. They waiting to see you again. This the only sport like that. What do you got to say, Reg?
Man, I want to speak on sweet part of this whole thing and about dual networks promoting this thing where people think it's always a interference or fracturing or breaking of fight talks due to networks. ESPN and Fox are really putting on some epic shit when it comes to this. I rarely ever watch ESPN unless they have a fight. But when I was in the gym, matter of fact, yesterday night, I'm in the gym. I don't know how many damn times an ad for Wilder versus Fury came on within I'll say a 20-minute span. Anytime they went to commercial, this damn commercial was on, highlighting some real critical points in this fight of the knockdown, punches landed by Fury, punches landed by Wilder, and there's such a high anticipation going into this fight. The what is that? The kind of their 24/7 thing had such a huge draw to it during the Super Bowl. So it shows that. But the thing to me that's bittersweet about the whole thing is for these people who sit on this network. Look at this huge panel of people. They're introducing a goddamn commentating staff. That's how much of an attraction this fight has become. So bittersweet is with how much money they forecast to be generated from this fight is the fact that they may not get a third one because everybody knows within their heart they see Deontay Wilder crushing the hell out of Tyson Fury and ultimately effing him out of additional money for a trilogy fight because it's going to be an epic knockdown. Epic knockout. And that's what's going to kill off this fight about people worrying whether or not Tyson Fury gets up or not. Tyson Fury not getting up, it kills off the money thing because now we're left with having to see if Anthony Joshua gets in. But if the money's so big, it's going to force Anthony Joshua to go out there because getting knocked out is well worth the money that he can make going in here, especially with promotion that's being done by Fox and by ESPN. This is also the type of push that DAZN would need. DAZN would need a network like Fox along with themselves to kind of get in the push, and that may ultimately help DAZN to, save themselves some time or even get their app to the point that it needs to come to. So that's what they may need to work with in pushing what's the name out there. They may need to do what Tyson Fury may end up setting a new standard when it comes to how these networks play in the game to where there's not interfering. Working in partnership with networks, it can pan off brilliantly, and it also puts the networks in competition with each other. So they're forced to go about marketing and advertising. But I think ultimately it's bittersweet for both of these networks because they're going to miss out on the third fight because prediction-wise, I think Wilder knocking this dude out messes up the damn money for a third fight, which a trilogy between these dudes would be huge if it was a close fight, but it's ending with that right hand.
Hustler Slim has joined us. We see you out there, Hustler Slim. He said, I didn't get the notification, but I'm here. Salute to all. Yeah, you probably didn't get the notification, Hustler Slim, because I kept changing the starting time because of how the fights were going that we were watching on the cars tonight. So that might have affected your notification. So no worries. Glad you're here, bro. And what you missed, you can catch it on the archive, man, on the replay. Shout out to Andrew Charles. He says, I actually have a concern. Fury might try and switch it up and blitz Wilder in the first couple of rounds. What do you think, Stormy man? Well, I'll tell you like this. Dominic Breazeale tried something similar, okay? And Dominic Breazeale was every bit about the same size as Tyson Fury is trying to come into the ring as. Damn near 300 pounds. And you saw what happened to Dominic Breazeale. He was laying on the canvas, titties jingling like he was in a strip club. Okay, Tyson Fury can try it if he want to. But there's an old saying about feet running swiftly to mystery. Okay? And you heard me say earlier that Deontay is an anointed man. If you can't see that, I can't help you. Okay? He's anointed. It's going to take something special to beat him. But that whole thing, they could try to foul him. They can try to do stuff, tactically like that and everything. But remember that a leopard cannot change its spots. So Tyson Fury can try some tactics, okay? But at the end of the day, one thing is for certain. Tyson Fury is a boxer, yes. And he's a large man. He has long extremities, arms, and reach and everything, long legs. He can lean away from shots and this and that. But Deontay Wilder is a fighter. He's been fighting all his life. He was fighting before he even became a professional fighter. And then when his daughter was born, he had even more to fight for. So think about it in terms of this. When he knows what it stands to lose and everything, he knows what he has to do. And when he takes that right hand and he places it where it needs to go, shit happens. Okay? And it already happened to Tyson Fury. We really shouldn't even be talking about a damn rematch because he was knocked out. But we got it. And you know what? He gonna finish the deal this time. He gonna finish the deal. And it ain't gonna be nothing that John Fury or whatever his name and all of that talk that he was making and everything gonna be able to do about it. And he gonna say, I should have listened to my first mind and kept my damn son up out of there. That's what I got to say about that. So there was one more thing I wanted to mention in my itinerary before we get on tonight's fights, Reggie. And it's like living up to what a champion means over being a titleist. What do you have on that from your perspective, Reggie? Living up to what a champion means over a titleist.
You still there, Stormy?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm here. I had muted myself. What was the last thing you heard me say?
As soon as you went to transitioning over to this first.
When I went to what?
You were segmenting over into this current topic. As soon as you went over to this topic, it started to break up and it muted out.
I'm sorry. I must have accidentally muted myself because I had my hand near the key. I was asking this next topic before we start cooking on the fights for tonight. I want to say living up to what a champion means over being a titleist. Would you like to give us your thoughts about that?
Oh, most definitely. To me, a titleist is just a person that's happy to hold these belts, just to come in that opportunity where they get the title and they think they've achieved the ultimate goal and it's over with. They've reached the mountaintop. They're the greatest ever. A champion is a guy who goes in there, they become a champion, they're looking to hold on to this belt. And there's nothing that they see anyone else out there on the horizon can do to pry this belt from their hands. And they're taking on all challengers. They're not ducking anything. Their whole mindset is setting on proving that they're the best. And that's the one thing I heard him speaking of when it wasn't even that a fighter had to call him out. When he knew someone was of someone that was coming up, making a name for themselves and viewed as being great, he wanted to fight them as well as anyone that called him out to challenge him. He's the king, and it's the way the king of the jungle does, just like a lion, where some people call themselves lions. Well, true lions don't let any potential threat come into their territory. If they see a threat out there, they eliminate that threat. And that's a titleist. doesn't do anything like that. When Tyler sees a threat, they go the opposite way. They start going into, well, this person's ranked here and they're a viable opponent for me. I don't want to fight this person because of their style, blah, 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 and all this other kind of BS. A champion doesn't care what kind of style you come in there with. You're not going to defeat them. And that's the mindset of a champion. And even when a champion is defeated, a champion knows how to bounce back. And the same thing you see with Sean Porter. Sean Porter signifies what a champion is to me. Even if he doesn't hold one of these rinky-dink ass titles, he still has a champion mindset. And that's what I like about that dude. And Adrian Broner will have it too, with him taking upon any fight. But the thing that lacks with this dude is his discipline to this damn. But that's what champions are to me. Is the ones who give dedication and their heart and they're willing to challenge all threats that are out there, meaning those who are great are achieving something. A champion is willing to go out there and fight them, just like a true dominant lion out there in the jungle.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark Wunderlich. He says, Wilder might kill AJ. Man, AJ might die from a heart attack. If he had such panic problems and everything in New York City when he was going out there against Andy Ruiz Jr., imagine the stress he'll have getting ready to face Deontay Wilder. The dude might die in the dressing room. He might literally die from shock. Okay?
Hey, I agree with that, man. That mental stress in a fight, man, is the worst thing. The stress is probably worse than the damn punch you're going to get hit with.
Listen, let me tell you this little story about Michael Spinks versus Mike Tyson. Okay? Now, everybody know that Michael Spinks, when he showed up for that fight with Mike Tyson, he looked a little edged, right? He looked like, oh shit, I'm in for it, right? Everybody knows that. But there's a story behind this in the locker room. Butch Lewis, who was Michael Spinks' promoter and manager, he had problems with the Tyson camp because, he felt like these were two champions fighting each other. That was a real fight for lineage and current champion. Mike Tyson was the undisputed heavyweight champion. Michael Spinks was the lineal champion because he had beaten Larry Holmes and had not lost in the ring, even though he vacated the IBF belt because he didn't want to go back into the heavyweight championship tournament, which Tony Tucker had now fought for that belt after beating Buster Douglas. So the lineage was not won from Tucker, but the belt was by Tyson. So when he was facing Michael Spinks at Atlantic City Convention Center, Butch Lewis went into the Tyson dressing room when he was getting his hands wrapped and everything, and he was trying to stir up some trouble, get Mike agitated or whatever, right? Mike Tyson had been in the locker room, warming up and everything, and he punched a hole in the wall, okay? And with no pain, nothing, he punched a hole in the wall. He kept shadow boxing. He was like, man, Butch Lewis looked at Mike Tyson and said, oh, he's like, my guy is getting ready to fight this dude. So I think when he went back to the locker room, Butch Lewis told Michael Spinks, just try to come out of this one alive, bro. Because he knew that Tyson was coming for him. And guess what it happened to be? A first round knockout. 91 seconds or something like that. But it happened. It was real. This fight right here, Deontay Wilder is coming into this fight and he is going to put it on Tyson Fury. All that talking he was doing, it hasn't been as bad as what the stuff that Dominique Breazeale said and everything, because that was a more personal type situation. But still, look at what he did to Dominique Breazeale and Bermane Stiverne in a rematch. All that talking Stiverne was doing and everything, look at what happened. He turned the guy into a meme. Okay? This fight against Tyson Fury, this rematch, dude, I hope he got all his affairs in order, because this fight ain't going too long, man. It ain't going too long. I would not be surprised to see a first round knockout. I have said that I think it'll go less than 6. But as Wilder has been known to say, don't blink. Don't blink. So, Reggie, we could go on into, with the time we have left. I think we got about 25, 30 minutes left. We could go on into our fights for tonight, man. Which would you like to kick it off with? It was some pretty good fights on the DAZN card. If there was another fight on Showtime, I didn't see it because I stuck with DAZN the whole way through, simply because I was scoring stuff as I was watching. What would you like to kick it off with?
We can kick it into that opening fight. And even the fight after that ended up being good as hell as well. And the judges' scorecards, the other thing I want to talk about in that other, the Blair fight, man, pretty interesting fight, but it was also a fight to where this guy was doing unnecessary things as far as his movements against an opponent who was very flat, didn't have the movement, couldn't keep up with the the left and right shifting style. Now, Blair should have pressed the attack a little bit more on this dude and gotten him up out of that ring, because I think it was some work he could have did early on and would have really broken this guy down. This guy was becoming frustrated with a lot of things that Blair was doing. He really couldn't hit him. But then again, when Blair took this thing to the scorecards, these judges didn't like what they were seeing. And these judges are always a questionable factor in this fight game when you're not doing necessary offensive work. And also in this thing, I also see that Blair going forward is going to have to tune up on some cardio. He's going to have to do some better things with his cardio work, because once he got in there to do the little small successions of banging it out with this dude, you can kind of start seeing him fading a little bit. And then he'll get right back to the movement. But he's going to have to do something, or else he's going to suffer his first defeat based on the matter of fact, on the judge's scorecard, when it may not be that way. He can be in here in a fight where I thought he was clearly pulling away against this dude. But he's going to have to tune some things up and get better on his offense. But that was a pretty entertaining fight. It was pretty fun fight to watch, and he was getting hit with a lot of unnecessary shots. So he had some defense to clean up. He was in here with a guy who was just trying to throw out his punch because he's becoming frustrated. He was landing that punch. So Blair has some things to clean up. He's very entertaining. He's making a name for himself by some of his, kind of little eccentric acting ways. He acts like Prince or some shit to me. But that was a pretty entertaining opening for the card.
Yeah, I noticed that what's his name?
Blair?
Sam.
Oh, Sam.
Sam Cote. I noticed that he had the type of style that was like the perfect complement for Blair, because they meshed well. But it was, as you said, when Cobbs got tired, that's when dude began to come on. And his punches were landing, but they were landing either late or they were missing. And I don't know if there was a way he could have fixed that during the fight. I'm trying to put my mind to it. But Blair showed good footwork, moving around. His punches didn't seem to have a lot of steam on them, but he did throw good combinations. I liked the work that he was putting in, and those body shots were great, man. He was really going to that dude Cote's body really well. I mean, there were a couple of shots that, like the ref took away a point or something for like a shot that landed on the belt line or whatever. But when you got a belt line that goes up over your navel, come on, man. Stop that with that low blow crap. But the body work was excellent. You were right about the judges' scorecards. They had that fight way too close, man. Way too close. I would say he won, 7-5 easy, but they had it like he barely, pulled it out. So
right, wasn't it a split decision? Sorry to interrupt on that.
yeah, it was like one judge had it 94 to 93 one way, the other judge had it 96 to 93 with the point taken away, and then there was a funny score down the middle. I was like, that fight wasn't that close. But the two guys were at that level that they should be fighting each other. That's the funny thing about when you see fights like this. This is why I say it all the time. More and more, these guys need to fight each other, because on paper, or let's just say we were looking at Cobb previous fights, and then you were looking at Cote's fights, you'd probably say, well, Cobb's gonna dance circles around that guy. And about Cote, you might say, on paper, you might say, well, Cote looks good against these other guys. If he hits this guy, he'll knock him out. Well, we saw them, and it was a battle. And it was an ebb and a flow to the battle, because once Cobbs got tired, the gap closed tremendously, But what he did smartly was he went to the dude's body. It was like, I'm tired, but I'm going to go to your body. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, it was a good strategy, and the fight was better as a result of it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I heard us tell him to start going down to the body, and that's what start doing. And it brought about a better engagement. And Samuel tried to get off some punches as well. But yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and the next fight that had Alexis, what was his name? Roche. What was his name? Alexis.
I can't. I think it was Rosales or something. He fought Solomon or something like that.
Yeah.
Let me pull up his.
Rosales. That fight right there. Brad Solomon really blew an opportunity. He's one of those fighters that I talked about. I was like, he fought from behind the whole fight. Like, Rosales do something to him, he do something back. Rosales throw his punch, he throw a punch after him. It was like he never took an initiative in the fight. But then when he started to let his hands go, you could see he had the faster hands and he had very good combinations. But dude, what kind of fight was he fighting? And the ringside guys, they had the fight very close, but the final scorecards were nowhere near close. And it was because of the reason why he was fighting the way he was. They said he had a win over Andre in the amateurs. And the thing is, he boxed like a guy who was in a sparring session. And in that 12th round, Rosales caught him with the left hook and put him down. It was like, oh, here we go. And, that was it. Any chance of the fight being close or whatever, he blew it when he let the guy drop him like that. And he was really hurt. He was the worst for wear. Did you get a chance to see that one? Because I know you were changing up your equipment and stuff.
Yeah, no, I watched that one. I took, because I wasn't counting on that fight, because I did happen to just run in the house, so I didn't have it set up for the yard stream, but I watched it because I wanted to see what unfold with it, because this is the same dude who Virgil Ortiz just broke the will of him. But going in here, like you stated, he fought this back and forth type fight. And it may be that this dude he's one of these fighters that hasn't made the full professional style transition. And I think that's what I see with him. He doesn't seem to sit on his punches. He doesn't throw punches to get the respect of his opponent, to make them think of something. He doesn't back anyone up, and they can just stay right up on his ass, and that's what ends up happening. But it was funny because the other fighter team thought he was way behind and shit. And he came out that 10th round, he pressed the gas and ends up catching Solomon. And this is the thing when you play fights too damn safe and think you're gonna cruise to a victory and you get clipped with the one punch that changes everything for you. But he has to change something up. But I think he's about 34 something Solomon is. I remember when he fought Ortiz, his age was brought up quite a bit. I ain't hear too much down, but I was hearing in that Virgil Ortiz fight, and they were constantly speaking about his age. So he may be up on his way up out of here. He's just a test for some of these young up and coming fighters, but he screwed himself on his fighting his safe style. When you move, I move type of a responsive type fighter, and it cost him tonight, man. It really cost him.
I agree, and they said he was 34. I think they said he was 34 years old. So, now let's move on to the Jorge Linares fight against Carlos Morales. Now, this fight, I noticed something right off the bat, that Morales went in there with his head, and he was going to, because Linares has had a history of cuts and everything. He bleeds in almost every fight. I saw the first time that they got close in, the guy whacked him with his head. And I think he cut him on that first time he whacked him with his head in the first round. And I was saying to myself, I was like, see, this kind of thing right here, man. And before I could get that out of my mouth real good, the fight was over. But I like the performance that Linares put on, but it made me revisit the Lomachenko fight in my mind, Reggie. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I do recall that Linares had dropped Lomachenko, but the way he performed tonight, where was that against Lomachenko?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they drained or what, or he drained his damn self. But I just had a feeling this would probably come if that dude Carlos didn't tighten up on something. But I was liking what Carlos was with an aggressive style and aggressive approach, and that's what Linares didn't show the same approach to Lomachenko, like you're saying, but this real aggressive approach coming at this dude. But Carlos, to me, was doing a very good thing, being in here with Linares being a bigger puncher and a stronger fighter, is that when Linares an inch forward, this dude would take that inch step back, sticking out that jab and kind of pivoting around, moving to his left. But the one thing he sat idle, and Linares will be able to just twist on these punches. Linares can throw those punches very well at a split second without having to really sit on them. And there's a lot of power behind those shots. And the one shot where that dude messed up, and I thought Linares tripped the dude. I did not see that damn punch land into the replay.
Beautiful right hand. It was so short, and I was listening to you call it, right? And you said, what, did he trip or something? And I was like, no, that was a right hand. But his back was to the camera. Linares' back was to the camera. And dude fell forward over Linares' right shoulder and went to the canvas flat, like when a bird fall from the sky and he hit the ground. He fell like that. And I was like, holy crap, dude, that was like one of them Juan Manuel Marquez, Manny Pacquiao right hands. It was short as hell, and he caught him coming in. That fight could have been called off right there, because when he got up, dude was wobbling all over the place. But it was a beautiful right hand and short.
Yeah, man, he placed that punch in there beautifully. I did not see that. And it's funny when Andrew Charles actually Tyson Fury won the blitz. Wow, that's the first thing that came to my mind with tonight. But the punch was just on point, and to see that dude be able to survive that one, I was a little bit shocked to see him come back from that. But when he gets clipped with that, with the other punch that Linares ends up in the next round, when Linares ends up dropping him, I think Linares dropped in that final round. But when he hit him with that final knockout punch, man, he knocked the dude brains out, man. The dude's legs stiffened up real quick until his butt bounced off the ropes, and then he just gently fell to the canvas. This dude was up out of it. Linares was in here to make a statement, man. He added a little bit more life to his career, but I don't know. He fought a very strong fight, man. I liked his forward style, and once again, he's another fighter who did not let a damn cut interfere with nothing. It was almost as if the cut wasn't there. He didn't care about it. He wasn't hesitant of falling inside of a clinch. He just, the cut was the last thing in his mind. I think he was cut with how engaged and locked in he was on this fight. Never wiping at it, just letting the blood flow, just sticking to the fight. And that's the other thing I commend him for. But ultimately, he did what he was supposed to, and he knocked Carlos out. And Carlos is in here fighting, man. Carlos is in there trying to scrap, but Linares showed that you don't belong in here with me.
And that was his son. That was Morales' son that the camera kept showing or whatever. I was like, oh, man, the little boy going to be hurt. His dad got popped. But anyway, now let's just go on in and get in there with the Ryan Garcia against Francisco Fonseca, man. This fight right here, at least you could say for the number of fights that DAZN put on a card, right? Because they have put 40 fights on a damn card, man. You'll be all sleeping and everything. Shout out to Ryan Garcia for being able to give the people what they want, man. What do you got to say about his performance tonight, bro?
Man, I got nothing but positivity for his performance. Is really starting to establish himself. When I thought he was a fake, I didn't think he was really up to the hype, like calling out Tank Davis to not get in the fight. Then he goes into that one fight where he had a very tough bout against somebody and coming up with all sorts of excuses. Fired something up within Ryan Garcia to where he's like, people playing him like a punk. He went into that Duno fight, eliminated this dude, and where he's sitting on these punches because his speed, that's the same thing I used to say when it came to, what's his name? Punches. And the same, probably an hour or so after me saying that is when he went into that fight, sat down on a punch, and he knocked the damn dude out, flatlined him. And the same thing for Ryan Garcia. He has great hand speed. And once he sits down on a punch and those punches hit someone flush, they're going out. He did the same thing with Duno, who I thought Duno was going to embarrass him. Ryan eliminated him. Then going into this fight, I thought this dude will give Ryan some work. And based on how Tank Davis didn't do this guy like that, Ryan Garcia go in here and flushes the dude up out of here real quick. And that nice little quick response counter left hook was it was vicious, man. It was vicious. There was no way. I don't see too many fighters in that division standing up to the punches this kid's throwing. And it's based on the speed in which he's throwing these punches. They're landing flush, and they're hitting these cats to where they're not able to get out the way because he's firing back so far. But man, I got much respect. An Oscar better not get in this kid's way, and that's the thing with Ryan. Ryan better start, and hopefully Canelo don't get away. But I think Canelo will him because they know to go around Oscar De La Hoya. It's almost like F Oscar De La Hoya because of the way Oscar tried to play this kid. When they went through this money dispute, now this kid is proving Oscar and them wrong. And I think he has to make a statement to Oscar and them. But hopefully they get him in a fight like we've seen Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce getting in there early on. The same thing we need to see out of Ryan because this kid is right there. And I like Ryan over Tank Davis. I ain't going to even lie about that. At this point, I like Ryan Garcia over Tank Davis.
Oh, definitely. I don't think that Tank Davis has the type of focus that he would need to have against a fighter like Garcia. Those fast hands are lethal. It takes someone who has high boxing IQ and good timing and things like that to know what to do. I think Devin Haney will probably be the toughest fight for Garcia. But some of those other guys that they mentioned, it's like that kid is fast and he has power. He don't look like he should be so powerful either, but he has that. And you know what? That makes for exciting fights. But I guarantee you, you've heard it here from me first. I guarantee you, when he gets hit on the chin, he's going. That's his problem. And I'll tell you why it's his problem. Because he's accustomed to hitting everybody else and not, catching a receipt or whatever. I've seen it so many times. But it's going to take a disciplined guy because they're going to have to let him fly and take care of themselves and punch in between that and catch him. That's what it's going to do to him. And once he goes, it's going to be over for him. That's going to be it. Because I don't think the ticker is there. I think it's false bravado. And that's okay because he's around Canelo and everything and they pump him up and things like that or whatever. But there's just something that I feel about that. And it's like, you're already talking about, I was watching the Sugar Ray Robinson highlight and, I saw him make this move and this. It's like, dude, in real boxing, I mean, you could say that you were fighting a guy that you were far more talented than, but there's some other guys out there that can clean your clock. But for now, he had a wonderful win. It's a great look for him. It's a great look for where they're trying to take him and everything. And I think that Tank better watch out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So, that was a good night for boxing. I don't know, we got anything tomorrow night?
Yeah, we got that Caleb Plant fight.
Oh, that's right. Wow, I gotta be ready. I didn't do a video for him this week. Okay, well, we'll have that tomorrow. So I'll more than likely I'll be doing a post fight for that for Caleb, and you can go ahead and give us your final words there, Reggie, and let everybody know you're back to calling the fights and whatnot because you were away from that for a moment. Now you're back.
Yes, indeed. They let me back in. Took me off of suspension. Now I get to do my play-by-plays. What I love when I go live is play-by-plays. But yeah, y'all can catch me at Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens here on YouTube. My Instagram, I just be on there finding little funny shit to post. But my Instagram at Reggie76544. So I'm mixing boxing. Do my political videos, which I'm very super political, probably act like a damn activist, but I do more stuff like that. I just be myself over there, comical shit, real serious issues, whether it's societal issues, politics. I'm doing that on Instagram. Yeah, basically there. And then here on YouTube. So I'm on YouTube enjoying all the content that people make up here because rarely do I ever watch TV, so YouTube is where it's at because there's so much shit created on here that is just beyond what TV provides. So I'm just over here, whether I stick up with following aviation stuff, which I've always been a nerd for aviation related stuff. I like RV and stuff, watch that on YouTube, and boxing, king of all of it. And I like what everybody's putting out. So this is where I'm at. You see me in everybody's chats, following many people. I've been starting to see a lot of other people in the other programs, whether it's stuff I like watching over there, Willie D or Dr. Watkins, Boyce Watkins. So I'm seeing everybody everywhere, but YouTube is where it's at, and we're here with a voice of our own, powerful platform, and people are paying attention. Best believe these higher ups in the sport of boxing is listening to all the content that is coming out here. And that's why it's up to us to do a good job with what we put out and put it in our own words and our own thoughts and minds, and not sugarcoat it for these people, because they're listening. They need to hear what the people are talking about. But yeah, that's all I got, Stormy.
Yeah, man, and I appreciate you coming on with me this evening. I know it's done got a little late for a lot of our listeners out there, and the only reason we were on as late as we were because of the fights that went the distance that they went and whatnot. But when it's not like that, you know, Stormy will be on at his regular time, and I appreciate everybody that came out to listen in on us, and Trick Noty for finally stopping by the channel. He had said he would do that. He finally made his appearance here, and look forward to his interview with Paul Spadafora, because that's going to be another good one. He had the one with Michael Nunn that he set up there with Drew Titan. We're doing some great things out here with our channels and getting these personalities to come onto our platforms. Stormy gonna have some stuff happening in the future too, but I just want you guys to know that everything we're trying to do is pure. You know, we're not like that other side where the people can't really allow their voices to be heard, or they're being muffled, or even being hidden from what's the primary focus of the sport, and that's the fighters and everything. So it's not the journalists, it's the fighters. That's who's important in boxing. So over on this side of the pond, we're going to make sure that we do our part with these fighters and big them up and put them out there, let people know what's happening with them, what their plans are, this, that, and the other, and just give it straight as far as talking about boxing. But I got a show coming tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central. It's the Three Wise Men of Boxing, where we got Kurt Sugar, Scrapbook Boxing, and myself. The show has resumed. And then next Saturday, the 22nd, we're going to have another edition of In the Eye of the Storm. And on that episode, we're going to have Mr. Boxing Today. And won't that be a blessing to have Mr. Boxing Today on the day that the heavyweight championship fight is going down. So we can look forward to that, and look forward to some more content that Stormy will drop throughout the week. I dropped 3 joints today. So if you could check them out on the page, they're there. You know, let me know what's happening. Leave some comments. Give me some thumbs up. Hit the like button before you leave up out of here. This has been another edition of the Friday Night Chop Session with Stormybman and Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. And it was The Bitter Pill of Defeat, the title of this episode. So for that, I want to say shout out to the LDBC, and everybody have a good night. Wonderful weekend. Check out that Caleb Plant fight tomorrow night, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow night on the post fight. Peace.